Greetings, fellow engineers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Ostranauts. Episode 38, How to Turn On a Fusion Reactor. Do I have to reconnect thermostats when they're installed? No. They're like bound to the part, which is really nice. I'm definitely missing some lights. What does it look like with these removed? Not that bad. Okay, I'm going to remove these lights and install them in the cargo area. So all I need to do is buy like one floor and install the CO2 scrubber. More or less. It's pretty close to being done. I'm super stoked. So there's a dock spot here that I'll have to fix at some point. But the ship is pretty luminous. We can work in it and not be stumbling around like idiots. And then the rest of these sensors are going to be for this. We have separate O2 and CO2 for the outside ring of the ship, and they'll need their own sensors. Okay, let's install the scrubber, and I'll just do the... It's a little weird to do the scrubber here, because it's like right in the middle, but at least is symmetrical-ish. So that's what I'll do. And then we'll need a CO2 filter, which is different than the suit filter, and a CO2 can, which is, and then we'll have active scrubbing. What's... Oh, there's a light here. Cool. We wanted more light, so... Apparently there was just a light that I had overlooked. It's kind of nice. Oh, I see. Trying to install it, I literally don't have space for it. Cool. Cool. So these mechanical parts could be sold, and what room is there in this bin? A little bit more room. So I'll do 2 grav pens in there, and then the rest of these ossifex I'm just going to leave on the floor. Eventually we're going to want maybe a subfloor bin in the middle. Because there's a lot of empty space here that I could put a subfloor bin to accommodate more stuff. So we're missing a nitrogen alarm. I don't think... I'll double check everything. All the coolers are hooked up to the correct thermostat. So I think it's just a nitrogen alarm. It's a little weird, actually, that the thermostat is inside, because I don't have any heating or cooling inside, so I'm going to change that to be the outside. So what is left? Let's put the extra conduits away. And check the thermostats for everything, and then fill in that hole in the floor, and we'll be set to go. I think. I mean, there's more prep to be done before the torch drive, but at least I can fire up the reactor to show you how to, because that's like half the battle of making your ship run. Don't need heating inside this room? Not when the vent is open, no. Under normal circumstances, there's free flow of air pretty much all around the base, or all around the entire ship. Oh, that was the wrong thing. Yeah, 2. Yeah, I meant to do the heater. And if we ever have an emergency depressurization, this vent will close, and this internal middle area will seal, and it won't miraculously, the temperature in it won't disappear. So it's not going to like become absolute zero because heat, that's not how heat works. So it doesn't have a heater, but it's not like likely to lose heat out of nowhere either. So there is some more like dark spots of the ship that probably need to get fixed. So the thermostats for these coolers should be this. And I think then we're all set for down here. That's going to get old quick. So yeah, let's get that one floorboard in. And we have the 2 spare doors and a few spare walls. And then we're pretty much set to push off. You think the heater on the left doesn't have input? I'll double check it. There's a lot of other stuff that we need to do first, like, you know, repressurization of the cabin so I don't have to wear a suit. But one thing at a time. I probably should reboot the game. It's running a little chunk. Okay. Sit. Let's buy a floor. See if it can match. No, nothing matches. I'll buy a test 46. I think that's the only hole anywhere. And I haven't actually done the scrubbing yet, but scrubbers are really easy to set up. So at this point, I think we're airtight, and I'm going to do a quick test. I don't see the oxygen disappearing out of nothing, so I think it's good. Yep, the input for this was wrong. You were right. This is a little weird because this is going off the wrong sensor. But once the doors are open, it will act as one sensor, which is what I'm doing now, if my character would open the doors. Okay. So now the entire ship is becoming pressurized. Then what we have left to do is get the scrubber working. So I'm going to call this pre-flight check. Because I'll need to like fill up batteries and things like that too. So for the scrubber, you need a CO2 scrubber cartridge. And a CO2 canister. And I'm just going to carry them. So I don't have to go fishing around for it. Yeah, I know that door's unlocked. Install. So the can goes there. And then in the scrubber, you have a CO2 atmos scrubber filter that goes there. I'm holding some junk that I want to sell. So that would be used mechanical parts, old O2 bottle, and old O2 bottle. Neat. This is still pressurizing, but it's gone pretty fast. So let's lock down this door. The ship's utterly awesome. Well, thank you. It's been a project. Shut up, sensor. I know. It's still breathable. It's just light. So the scrubber's all set. That will keep carbon dioxide, lethal levels of carbon dioxide out of our air. Okay. Zones. New zone. If you could. Add new zone. And this is going to be the barter zone. So it's just the front of the ship. It'd be nice if I had like color-coded flooring, but I'm not going to go that far. I really don't need this on anymore. Okay. It's a little cold in the... actually, 22C is not that cold. Let's pay for power. My drill is basically dry. I haven't forgotten about Megan and her needs. This is going to be really expensive because I'm filling up my tanks. Because they weren't topped up. So that's way pricier than it normally would be. So now my helium tanks, my heavy water, and my cryo tanks are full. Batteries are full. I don't think the Sundries has a new bin. There's a coverall next to the airlock. Here? Yeah, here it is. Pants. It's the traveling pants. We'll have to form like some sort of sisterhood or something. Literally took it off my body. I think we are pretty all set. I mean, we're missing like 2 nitro cans. Or, that's not much. And we're missing some flooring around the outside airlocks. But all in all, I feel pretty happy with this ship. Let's get a final valuation. Or like a rough final value. Because it's not finished, but it's pretty close. So, out of curiosity, I want to see how close it is. I would really like to do a torch drive before too long. The caveat with that is, if I'm trying to earn citizenship, we're going to want to sell our old ship. So maybe I'll take the nitrogen sensor off the old ship and put it on the new ship. I think that's all we're really missing, though. So let's get a ship rating. So it's a C4E Lunamax size. We've got reactor, open bridge, engineering room, airlock. And if we wanted to sell it, price has gone up. But it's finished. I like how Let's Pull the Audience is like a mystery ship now. Like, what the hell? All right. Maiden voyage. Let's do it. Let's get over to... how do I want to do that? You know, maybe I don't care. Maybe I'll just sell the ship. Let's see if if there's sensors for sale. It's really not a big deal. And then I'll do a save and load and do a maiden voyage. So I'm checking the sundries to see if there's anything overlooked. I think if we're doing a long haul, I'm going to want some exercise equipment. So that we can work on fitness as we travel. Which would be... So the treadmill allows me to remove unfit and Megan to potentially gain fit. And the exercise allows me to remove feeble and potentially gain strong. Yeah. I'll buy some lights. These are a little bit more expensive, but like whatever. And send them to the barter zone is fine. So I'll buy 8 lights for the dark spots. What else do we want? And I'm going to just randomly do remove unfit. So I'll get a treadmill. Yeah, I am going to want to stockpile food, water, oxygen. But the maiden voyage isn't going to be... We're not quite there yet. Because I haven't double-walled anything. Okay. Sending to barter zone kind of didn't work. Okay. Well, I have a pocket full of lights and a treadmill that I'm hauling around. There's not really a good spot for the treadmill without encroaching on the storage area, but whatever. It's fine. And then dark spots. So these lights can be changed colors, and I'm going to do orange. They're more expensive because they're RGB. Or sort of. I mean, not literally, because they're ORPG. But that sounds stupid, so... Shut up, alarm! No, there's also blue. So, BORPG lights. Yeah. I like orange everywhere. I mean, I could see reactor rooms being like red or whatever, but orange is the easiest on the eyes. I have 2 left. let's see. There's like a shadow spot here, I guess. Or the airlock here. And then one in the airlock up here. That'll work. Cool. So, yeah, alright. We're not casting shadow. That's nice. Ship's basically pressurized, which means I can reclose these doors so that if we have a breach, it, you know, we have a safety health pod inside, and then reopen this vent, which apparently you can only open from the outside, but that's probably good for safety. Nice. I haven't forgotten about Megan. Now, here's the follow-up question. I think given the time left in the stream, it might make sense for me to have a bunch of spare repair parts, and for me not to double wall in my ship and just like repair as I go. Because I think the time and the effort spent adding a second layer of walls is not going to let me hit my goals in time, in other words. So I think that's my plan, because we can always breathe in here. How well slept is she now? Okay, she's pretty well slept. So I'm trying to think of other things I need to do. I wouldn't mind trying to find one more helium, honestly. So I think that's my last goal before I really get the reactor up and running. So I'm going to update the priority. Find one more helium can. I think that's all we need to really get flight ready. The cabin doesn't need to be double walled. So what happens for micrometeorites is we'll break one of these external walls, and they'll need to be replaced. That's all that happens. So once we are underway to Venus, I can basically vacuum out the outside of the ship and only really worry about the pressure inside. Because we're going to get pounded from the outer edge regularly. And like, okay, so be it. That's fine. Should we keep it unpressurized for the jump so that we don't lose a ton of air? Well, we can just chalk up the first strike as the loss of air, and that's it. So I don't need to do anything, is what I'm trying to say. Nothing needs to change. It's fine. It's all set, and it doesn't need changes or inputs or anything. We're good. What I do need to do is to buy more grav pens, buy more water, buy more food. But I'm going to look for the helium can first. So, yeah, let's go fuel kiosk. We're all set here. We're all topped up. And I'm going to fire up the fusion for a maiden fire in just a second. So let's go get Megan. Save and load so that the game's not running like sludge. Megan, how about you go freshen up? You stink. Oh, wow, this sink is different. I can't access the water. What about this one? And then, yeah, I'll probably want extra like O2 and 2 cans. We'll probably find those looking for helium cans. What the freaking... What are you doing? Yes, you can't freshen up because you put on a random helmet. Don't put on the helmet. No one told you to. Alright, so you, roster, stop thinking for yourself. I'll do the thinking for you because you're dumb. Oh my god, are you thinking for yourself still? Why are you trying to take off your t-shirt? This is a family-friendly stream. Stop taking off your t-shirt. Alright, so she's fresh. Drink this. She's all set. Her needs are met. In fact, so that she stays out of trouble, just go to sleep. Sleeping on the med bed actually might be even better for her. So what is it? 10? Because she does have some health problems. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but I know that they are. So, we are going to search for helium. Reboot time. Out of curiosity, how much memory am I using for this game? 13 gigabytes. Neat. Sounds like a lot. Let's do a bit of a core purge. You'll understand that joke in a minute. And bring that back down to a reasonable amount. So in our search for helium, it wouldn't be a bad idea to grab relatively full O2 and N2 cans and maybe spare batteries, and probably not need batteries because we'll recharge our batteries with the torch drive. Obviously grav pens, flasks, fill up our flasks, water, food, any of the loose food that we find. We'll probably end up using just like the low quality food. So there's a bunch of stuff that we're searching when we're searching for helium cans as well. But my guess is the helium cans are going to be the hard thing to find, and everything else is just going to fall into place. But I will fire up the reactor anyway, even though we're not really going to use it, just as a dry run to make sure that it all works. Because you don't want to plan a giant transfer trip with a reactor that doesn't work, because that sounds like a bad idea. So, do we have any bills paid? Nope. We owe nothing. Let's get going. I know I still have my other ship to sell. I'm not worried about that right now. Here we go. This isn't technically its maiden voyage. It didn't limp here. But that's all it did. Oh, also getting a few more thrusters might not be terrible. Because we have asymmetrical thrusters and we definitely could use more. For when this thing gets heavy. Oh, this handle's pretty good though. So I'm going to go very slow to our next salvage so I can show you the reactor fire up. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the Steam guide, or the user manual rather, for Fusion, and we'll walk through the reactor fire up stage. So we're doing a cold start checklist. Whoops. So the cold start checklist is, first we verify that the fusion coils are assembly is undamaged, the reactor core is undamaged, the cryo reservoir, the distribution pump, the capacitor and laser arrays, the one fusion grade laser capacitor supplies power for 2, which is true. We have 1 capacitor, 2 lasers. The fuel regulator is undamaged, the pellet feeder is undamaged, the one of the reactor fuel regulator supplies 2 pellet feeders. So this is explaining that there's a 2-to-1 ratio. So we have 2 pellet feeders, we have 1 fuel regulator, we have 2 laser capacitors, we have 1 laser capacitor and 2 lasers. The core pump is undamaged, the magnet hydrodynamic generator is undamaged, and then the ship has a sufficient battery charge to perform a reactor cold start. All of that is true. So, how you turn on the reactor. You set the power bus to battery. You wait for the lamp test to complete. So let's do that right now. So, test fire the reactor. So, power bus to battery. And when it says wait for it to complete, what it means is you will see the capacitor charge here go from empty to ready, and then the laser cap will stop blinking. This is a read of its fuel for helium and heavy water. And capacitor charge is now ready. Got it. Next. And I have this memorized, but I just wanted to show you for the first time. So the lamp test is complete. The battery power is showing green. The capacitor charge is increasing and indicating ready. That is true. The fuel and heavy water has enough. It's full. And the core pressure should indicate vacuum. And if rough, we need to purge it. So I'll show you that now. Because this part's important or you might explode. So the core pressure is up here. And it should be reading vacuum. And if it's not, you go to core purge rough. And this is turbo. So essentially what it is you're feeding fuel into your reactor. And when you start, you want to vacuum. And if you don't, if it doesn't look like anything, you can assume it's vacuumed. And that buzz is your core pump purging the core. So it is indeed purged. And then once it's done, you can turn that off because there's no fuel being fed into it right now. Now this is important because if you try to fire up your reactor and it has a bunch of unburned fuel in there, you will super explode and die. Your entire ship will go up in flames and it will be game over. So when your core pressure is running, it will read about here. This is where good is. I don't know why it's not labeled, but this is where good is. If it's in danger, you better shut the hell down or you're going to die. And if it's running rough, you're probably not feeding enough fuel into it or something. It should sit about here. So that stage is done. The core purge is empty. So we're ready for the next step. I'm gonna run this without the manual, so it's a little bit easier because the initial sequence is basically here. So the next one is laser alignment. Done. Then pellet feeder. When you turn on the pellet feeder, it's not necessarily going to go on green immediately. It will go green here. The pellet feeder is ready, but the pellet feeder is ready, but you're not feeding pellets. So it's fine when it's right over here. It's not a big deal. Next, cryo. To make sure that your core temp stays cool. So the cryo pumps are on. After that, you have fuel regulation, which is this button over here. And then field coils, both front and rear field coils. And now everything goes green. As you can see, the batteries in the ship are starting to drain because right now the reactor isn't producing power, it's drawing power to keep all these things on. And that's why the power bus is set to bat. The next step is the MHD on. Last step is ignition. And as everything turns on, I'm going to wait until it is sitting at good. Core temp is in the green. As I said, yellow here is good. These lights here, you don't need to worry about them. It's just that it's running. And at this point, we can then shift from battery to charge. And what that's going to do is siphon off some of the power that the reactor is generating to recharge our ship's batteries. Reactor is on. It's running. And it's taking about 5 or so kilograms of fuel a day. And we have 15,000 and 44,000. And what this allows you to do with a running reactor is if we take a look at our, if we go to our nav station now, and we take a look at our power reserves, it does two things. So one, it generates power, which is really useful for long-range trips unless you have a massive battery bank, which is unnecessary. So if you take a look here at power reserves, we have a obscene amount of power reserve because we have a running fusion reactor. The other thing it allows you to do is it allows you to use the reactor to transfer burn to other points of interest in the solar system. That's the big thing it does. Right now we're in the wake zone of K-Leg, so I can't actually do that, nor would I want to because I don't have the food, water, grav pens, or repair supplies. But it would allow us to transfer burn over to Venus or Jupiter or wherever else. So it allows us to leave K-Leg, leave Ganymede, 1036 Ganymede. And you can only plan these burns when you're outside of the wake zone. So basically you can't use the... So the reactor has something called a torch drive, which takes the... which uses the reactor as a mega propulsion. You can think of it as like a mega engine. And once you're outside of this red ring, which is the wake zone, basically you're not allowed to use your reactor for torch drives within the zone. Once you're outside of the zone, you can then plot a course to another celestial body, like Venus, and then course engage. And you can change your acceleration limit for G-forces and how long you burn, which will then show your reactant used, your RCS mass, your mass acceleration, and so forth. So the idea behind the grav pens, these orange pens, is normally your character loses consciousness maybe around 3 Gs or so. It really depends on health conditions, compression pants, etc., etc. The grav pens raises that up so you can accelerate a lot faster. Now there's advantages and disadvantages of accelerating faster. One advantage of accelerating faster is you are in deep space shorter period of time, because the slower you move, the more of the micrometeorites you're going to hit on the way there, because the longer you're basically between gravity wells, the more exposed you are. And it also just takes less time. So you can cut like a 1 week trip down to like a 3-day trip or something like that. So that's the advantage of the of that. If you want to turn off the reactor, because at this point we do, because I'm not reusing it, right? But if you take a look at these, if you take a look at my batteries here, you can see that they're gaining kilowatts from the fusion, right? So they're charging, they're not discharging. So that's another added benefit of the reactor core. So if you can just like turn off your reactor, that's totally valid, but there is, technically speaking, a shutdown process. So if we take a look here, I didn't actually verify that flow and cycle was minimum and close, but it was by default. It's running, and it's running smooth right now. It's not running dirty. I can double check. Right, it's sitting right in the good. Flow is very low because we're not actually using the reactor to do anything, and we're barely sipping fuel. It is a very common mistake to leave your core purge on rough, because during the startup sequence it tells you to purge your core. If you leave your core on rough, you will have to flood your reactor with fuel constantly for a reaction, burning your fuel away. Very common problem. Don't do it. I did it when I first started running, and I was like, why don't I have enough fuel to get anywhere? It's because I left it, the core pump on, emptying out my engine basically constantly. It was dumb. All right, so the user manual for the shutdown. Reactor shutdown. For safe shutdown, disable the fuel regulator, disable ignition, press fuel reg button and set ignition to off, and power bus to off, and then that's basically the shutdown. Reactor shutdown safety checklist to make sure everything is set in its original positions. So fuel reg, power bus, ignition, off, it's off. And if I wanted to turn it back on, once the ignition's off, it kind of flicks everything off. Once I turn it back on, you'll see that I might not have... See how my core pressure is not at vacuum? So this is one of those cases where I would need to run the core purge to empty out the core pressure, because I had ran it previously and it wasn't empty. So as you can see, now it is vacuuming out. So after your first use, you're definitely going to need to core purge. And I might as well just run the core purge now and then turn everything back off so it's ready to go for next time. And if you really want to core purge quickly, you can turbo it, which pulls more out of the core for pressure much faster. There we go. Core purge off, battery off. Now it's ready for activation. Now, if I was using it for a torch drive, the thrust is here to activate, but you can also have access to that at your nav console. So I'll show you that now. And there is a safety override, which I intend to use once we have the supplies. And the safety override allows you to go way too fast. So there is here's the thrust, and here's the safety override to limit your G forces. So that's basically how to use it, but we will do a real run once I have the last hydrogen tank. Thank you for tuning in to Ostranauts, which originally streamed live on Twitch January 11th and January 12th as a marathon, continuing where we left off in the December marathon of Ostranauts as well. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, people that turned out to join in on the marathon, and also viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow astronauts.